Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 14.3C. I've entitled this video, Current Issues in East Asia. This video is going to cover pages 453 to 455. Current Issues in East Asia. In the last half century, rapid economic growth has transformed East Asia. China and Japan now have larger economies than any other country in the world except the United States. With this growth, however, have come problems, including environmental damage. Question number 1. What have China and Japan been able to accomplish over the last 50 years? They've been able to transform their economy into two of the biggest economies in the world. If you look at GDP, we've looked at this before, China and Japan are in the top 4. You have China, America, India, and Japan. So these two have done a great job of turning their economies into large global economies. Economies and environments. In China, factories, coal-burning power plants, and the growing numbers of cars and trucks have led to dramatic increases in air pollution. Factory waste, sewage, and farm chemicals have poisoned water. Rapidly growing urban areas have eaten up valuable farmland. Many cities faced a constant shortage of water. Question number 2. What is causing tremendous air pollution in China? You have factories, coal-burning power plants, and cars and trucks shooting that pollution into the air. Question 3. What 3 things have poisoned the water in China? Factory waste, sewage, and farm chemicals. Question 4. What are 2 other challenges facing China? The rapidly growing urban areas have taken up a lot of the land that was used for farmland, and also a constant shortage of water. Humans need water. Japan has similar issues. Polluted air from power plants has produced acid rain and other problems. But as a more developed country with a longer history of industrialization, Japan has engaged in stronger environmental protection efforts. In addition, Japan faces a constant threat of earthquakes. Question number 5. Why is Japan in better shape than China when dealing with their environment? Well, because they've been a developed country longer than China and a longer history of industrialization, they were able to put in stronger environmental protection efforts earlier on in their history. So that's why they're doing better. Question 6. What natural disaster is a constant threat to Japan and to China? Earthquakes. Look at this chart. China and Japan are in the top 4 countries in the world in between 1990 and 2024 with the number of major earthquakes that they were hit with. So that's constantly a threat for them that they face. In 2011, the strongest earthquake ever recorded in Japan killed thousands of people and damaged several nuclear power plants, and we talked about that in a previous video. It also disrupted trade and manufacturing around the world. Trade. Many of the goods manufactured in East Asia are shipped to the United States and Europe. China's exports to the United States include electronic goods, toys and games, clothing, and shoes. From the United States, China imports soybeans, cotton, automobiles, and many other goods. Trade between the two countries, however, is not balanced. In 2010, the U.S. trade deficit with China rose to more than $273 billion. The trade deficit means the United States imports more goods from China than it sells to China. A trade surplus occurs when a country exports more products than it imports. Question number 7. What are 4 products that China exports to the United States? Electronic goods, toys and games, clothing, shoes. Question number 8. What are 3 products that China imports from the United States? Soybeans, cotton, automobiles. Question number 9. What does the phrase trade deficit mean? A trade deficit is when a country has a greater value of imports than it exports to a country. And question 10. What does the phrase trade surplus mean? When a country has a greater value of exports than it imports. That's a trade surplus. Challenges facing East Asia. Japan and China are dealing with the challenges of population growth. Ever-growing populations put a strain on limited resources and services. In 1979, China began a policy that allowed each family to have no more than 1 child. The one-child policy did slow population growth as intended. However, with fewer children and better living standards, the percentage of elderly grew substantially. The increased older population has strained the country's resources. As a result, in 2015, the Chinese government began allowing up to 2 children per family. This updated two-child policy is meant to address the need for a larger labor force of young adult workers. And most recently, in May of 2021, China has now put in a three-child policy, which allows married couples to have up to 3 children. Now we can answer question number 11. What is the major challenge facing China and Japan? The challenges of population growth. Question 12 is a three-parter. How has China's policy toward the number of children a family can have changed over the last few decades? Well, in 1979, they had the one-child policy. In 2015, they went to a two-child policy. And more recently, in 2021, they've gone to a three-child policy. Political differences in East Asia are another challenge. Japan is in dispute with Russia over a long chain of islands known as the Kuril Islands, which lie north of Japan. You can see that on the map in the bottom left here. Russia claimed the entire archipelago, but Japan claims the southernmost islands. North Korea's efforts to develop nuclear weapons have drawn harsh criticism from several countries. Now we can answer questions 13. What two countries have been disputing the Kuril Islands? Japan and Russia. Question 14. What East Asian country has faced criticism from the world for their development of nuclear weapons? North Korea. North Korea has joined a list of countries around the world that do have nuclear weapons. Starting from west to east, we have the United States, Britain/United Kingdom, we have France, we have Israel, we have Pakistan and India, we have Russia and China, and then we have North Korea. And you can see the approximate numbers of nuclear weapons that they had in 2024's what we believe they had. And so that deals with number 14, that it's North Korea and their acquisition or creating of nuclear weapons is a concern with how their leadership is constructed of a dictator who's a little out there. Both China and North Korea face questions about human rights in their countries, and China continues to receive international pressure for its views on Tibet and Taiwan. China's economic boom has drawn many people out of poverty, but the country faces a growing income gap between people in cities and the countryside. Question 15. What have countries around the world criticized North Korea and China for? Their human rights and how they treat their citizens. And question 16. What two areas has China faced international pressure for and how they've dealt with these two areas? How they've dealt with Tibet and Taiwan. Well, that's all I have for you today, but before we go, of course, I have something to finish up. What if I told you your trade deficit is just other countries buying less stuff from you than you're buying from them? Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.